It might seem like everyone and their mother, well, everyone and their partners, move in with their significant other before walking to the altar. And that is not too far off, considering the trend in living together before marriage is rising. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 8.5 million unmarried couples lived together in 2018. Even though the numbers are high and it appears to be socially acceptable these days, that does not mean it is for everyone. As with most relationship issues, when it comes to deciding whether you should cohabitate before marriage, it should only ever depend on the individuals involved. But as we all know, outside influence with even the best of intentions can make a personal outlook on a relationship foggy. Going from living on your own terms to sharing a place with someone can be simultaneously fun and seem extraordinarily impossible. Sharing a space can bring up a lot of issues and put your relationship to the test. You get a crash course in cooperation, negotiation, your ability to put someone's needs and tastes above or equal to your own. These are all relationship experiences that you should have prior to getting married. Personally, I can relate to this 100%. When I was just 17 years old, I gave birth to my oldest son. My boyfriend at the time and I decided to keep the baby, stay together, and raise our little family. My traditional immediate family, however, were not going to give cohabitating their blessing unless I was married. Being young, naive, and feeling as if I had no choice, we got married after I graduated high school at the age of 18. Cooperation, negotiation, and selflessness were not in either of our vocabularies. To this day, I think on how it would have ended up had we just lived together first. When you think about it, living with someone and spending nearly 24/7 with them means you'll have the chance to really, truly see their priorities and values, as well as how those line up with yours. It's like a practice run for what your everyday life might be like if you do decide to get married down the road. When you're dating and you do start to intertwine your lives by moving in together, it's more difficult to break it off if you do need to. This could be one of the reasons research shows that although living with your partner before marriage leads to more success in the first year, down the line it can actually increase the risk of divorce. Researchers aren't sure why this is, but few suggest it could be that after you move in together, you may realize it's too tough to cut ties, so you suppress the urge to be honest and get married instead. Years later, you might decide it is not for you and the only option is to now divorce. What no one is telling us is that the real key to avoiding divorce down the line could and should be figuring out your level of commitment to the relationship before you ever share a front door. Couples often think, how did this happen? And usually the answer rests in the pattern from dating to cohabitating. Most couples, when asked, how did you get to that point, say, it just happened. Sleeping over at each other's places all the time and liking to be together ends up meaning cheaper rent and more convenience. It becomes a quick decision. Researchers call this sliding, not deciding. Moving from dating to sleeping over a lot to cohabitation can be a gradual slope, one not marked by rings or ceremonies or sometimes even a conversation. Couples bypass talking about why they want to live together and what it will mean. It should be mentioned there is a lot of research showing to be outdated, particularly since it's more acceptable nowadays to live with your partner before marriage than it was years ago. In the 1960s, women everywhere were warned that giving the milk away for free could result in a lifetime of spinsterhood. The horror. It is difficult to truly measure the many factors that play into the divorce rate too. When it comes to living together before marriage, scenarios can be affected by age, religion, whether it's a first marriage, whether either person lived with someone before, and so on. And to top off the confusion on the science, the research looks at the success of a marriage as simply staying together, as in never divorced. Statistics can be helpful in some ways, but really you must know yourself. Relationships are an effort, so you have to work at it, whether you're living together for the first time, before, or after marriage. Living together does not charm or doom you. It is whether you live with your partner as much as how you live with your partner. Young adults need to be more aware that it is an arrangement that has upsides and downsides. There needs to be better communication or education on the matter. Taboo statements about cows and milk need to stop. Young people feel too much pressure to structure themselves just as generations before them. Communicating and thinking on the topic more can help the couple in the long run. In my situation, we divorced 10 years later, with many separations in between. At the end of it all, I can confidently speak for myself and admit I was not ready, not in tune with myself, and I did not stick up for myself enough. The relationship taught me a lot, but it should never have become one that resulted in marriage. I am since remarried and have been for almost 1.5 years. I have been in a relationship with my husband for 10 years, and we lived together prior to getting married. I personally can see it from both sides. When I first became divorced, I moved back into my parents' house with my 2 children. This was to save money and put my kids in a better school district. When I started dating my now husband, I chose to still remain at my parents' since I was staying at his house most weekends. I continued to save money rather than get my own place, and I didn't get my own place because I already had a dresser drawer dedicated at his. I'm sure already having children kept me grounded and less tempted to just accidentally move in his place. However, when the time came, we decided to buy a place together. We eventually brought our new baby home to and continued to raise my children in this place of our own. We lived together for 4 years before getting married. And although research states we are destined for divorce, I have to disagree. I am proud of us for taking our time, for growing into ourselves first. By the time we moved in together, he was 39 and I was 32. A shared roof will not take the place of a marriage license. Moving in should not be a replacement for marriage, if marriage is what you want. It should be a stepping stone. That means if someone is saying yes to living together just to put off marriage talks, that does not necessarily bode well for the future. Moving in with someone, especially if you both have hopes of getting married, is all about blending your lives and bringing together things you both enjoy, creating a couple identity. So please, talk about it. Couples should talk together and clarify expectations about what cohabitation means to each of them prior to living together. Deciding is how you ensure that one person doesn't assume that moving in together is a step toward marriage, while the other just needs a new place to live because their lease is up or their roommate moved out.